Hello students, today we shall see the next point of our chapter pointers. The next point of our chapter is accessing the address of a pointer. How can we determine the address of a variable? That is, how will we understand what is the address of a particular variable? This can be done with the help of the operator ampersand available in C. So with the help of the operator ampersand, we are going to get the address of a variable. We have already seen the use of this address operator in the scanf function. Okay, so in the scanf function we have used the ampersand. We have attached this ampersand to the variable whose value is to be inputted. The operator ampersand immediately preceding a variable returns the address of the variable associated with it. So when we attach this ampersand to a variable, we will get the address of the memory where that variable has been allocated. So for example, if we take P is equal to ampersand quantity, when we will read this variable or the compiler will read this statement, it will understand that P is a pointer variable and it is going to store the address of quantity. So quantity is a regular variable and P is going to store the address of quantity. This would assign the address 5000 to the variable P. The ampersand can be remembered as address of. So whenever we are going to see this ampersand symbol, we are going to read it as address of, or we say it is the address of operator also. The ampersand operator can be used only with a simple variable or an array element. Remember that whatever variable we are going to use after the ampersand, it should be a simple variable or it can be an array element. Okay, so I hope you have understood what is or how to access the address of a pointer. Next we shall see declaring pointer variables. How to declare a pointer variable. In C, every variable must be declared for its type. We have seen in previous programs and examples that we cannot use a variable until and unless we have declared it. If we use a variable without declaring it, the compiler will give us an error message. Since pointer variables contain addresses that belong to a separate data type, they must be declared as pointers before we use them. So if we are going to use pointer variables in our program, we have to declare them as pointer variables so that the compiler will understand that it is not a simple or regular variable, but it is a pointer variable and it will not contain a simple or regular value, but it will contain an address of some other variable. So we are now going to see how to declare a pointer variable. This is the syntax of how we are going to declare a pointer variable. What is the syntax? First we are going to give the data type, that will be any fundamental data type, that is integer, float, double or character. After that we are going to give an asterisk sign or the star sign and whatever name you want to give to your pointer variable, and at last semicolon. Okay, So this is the syntax of how we are going to declare a pointer variable. This statement tells the compiler three things about the variable. Whatever variable name we are going to use over here. Here for example I have used this pt underscore name. So when the compiler will come across such type of statement, it will understand three things. First, the asterisk tell that the variable pt name is a pointer variable. Okay, so first thing that the compiler will understand about this variable name is that it is not a regular variable or a simple variable, but it is a pointer variable. Second, pointer name needs a memory location. When this statement will get executed, the compiler will allocate a memory in the hard disk for this particular variable name. And third, pointer name points to a variable of type data type. So this pointer variable will point to a variable whose data type is given over here. So remember that this data type which we are going to mention in this syntax is not the data type of this pointer variable, but it is the data type of the variable to which this pointer will point to. Okay, so remember that this data type is not the data type of this variable. We'll take an example. This is how we are going to declare a pointer variable. So here the name of the pointer variable is p. How do we understand that this p is not a regular variable but it is a pointer variable? Because we have attached asterisks before that. So such type of variables to whom we have attached the asterisk is known as the pointer variable. Now we have specified int over here. So I have told you previously, this int is not the data type of this variable, but it is the data type to which p is going to point. So we say that p is an integer pointer. Declare the variable p as a pointer variable that points to an integer data type. The type int refers to the data type of the variable being pointed by p and not the type of the value of the pointer. Okay, so in this example, p is a pointer variable who is going to point to a variable of data type integer. We shall take one more example. Float asterisk x. So in this case again, x is not a regular variable but it is a pointer variable since asterisk is attached. Now this float is not the data type of x, but it is the data type of the variable to whom x is going to point. So we say that x is a floating point pointer since x is going to point to a variable whose data type is of type float. Declares x as a pointer to a floating point variable. The declarations cause the compiler to allocate memory locations for the pointer variables p and x. In both of these examples, the compiler will allocate memory for x and p also. And these memory locations are not going to store regular values, but they are going to store the addresses. A pointer is a variable that stores the address of another variable. So this is how we are going to declare a pointer variable. Next we shall see initialization of a pointer variable. The process of assigning the address of a variable to a pointer variable is known as initialization. So we shall see with an example. Here I have declared variable quantity of type integer. In this statement I have declared a pointer variable p who is going to point to an integer data type. So int star p semicolon is the declaration of my pointer variable. Now this statement is a initialization of pointer variable. We have seen what is the meaning of this symbol in the first point. So while reading this statement, we are now going to read it as p is equal to address of quantity. So now p will have the memory address where quantity is being stored, and this statement is known as initialization. So regular in our programs we are going to use this sequence. We can combine declaration and initialization also, as I have done in this statement. Int star p is equal to address of quantity. So declaration and initialization both are done together. This is allowed. It is important to initialize a pointer variable carefully because they are used in the program. So remember that first we have to declare a pointer variable and then we have to initialize the pointer variable. Once a pointer variable has been declared, we can use the assignment operator to initialize the variable. We can also combine the initialization and declaration. The only requirement is that the variable quantity must be declared before the initialization takes place. So I have told you all the sequence of initialization and declaration. Now in this case we are going to declare two regular variables a and b, and the data type of a and b is float. In the next statement I have declared one more regular variable x, and here p is a pointer variable. How did we understand that p is a pointer variable? Because we have attached asterisks over here. Here you can see that I have not attached asterisks, but here I have attached an asterisk. So a, b and x are regular variables and p is a pointer variable. The data type of a and b is float. The data type of x is integer. Now here in my next statement I have given that p is equal to address of a, but this statement is wrong because we say that p is a pointer variable who is going to point to an integer, but the data type of a is float. So this will give us an error message. This statement will not get executed because it is a wrong initialization. Okay, understood? I shall repeat. P is a pointer variable which is going to point to an integer data type. But in this statement we have initialized p to address of a, but the data type of a is float. So this is a wrong statement. Now in the next statement we have given b is equal to value stored at p. What is the data type of b? It is float. And what is the data type of p? It is integer. So again this is wrong. This will result in error because we are trying to assign the address of a float variable to an integer pointer. When we declare a pointer to be of integer type, the system assumes that any address that a pointer will hold point to an integer variable. Okay, we could also define a pointer variable with an initial value of null or 0. So in this example I have taken a pointer variable p of type integer and I have initialized it to null. Remember that when you are initializing it to null, you have to write this null in capital. So in this case I have initialized the variable pointer variable p, but it is given the value null, which means it is pointing to nothing. This statement is similar to this statement, integer star p is equal to 0. Both these statements have the same meaning. The pointers that points to nothing are called null pointers. Okay, so when we are going to use a pointer, but at the first stage of the program we don't know how we are going to use this pointer p or to which variable it is going to point, in that cases we are going to initialize that pointers to null. While declaring pointer variables, we can specify which variables we want pointer variables to point to. So we are going to first decide that why we are going to use the pointer variables, to whom the pointer variables are going to point. Okay, similar to the initialization of other variables at the time of their declaration, we can also initialize the pointer variables by assigning the addresses of other variables to them. At the time of declaring a pointer variable, the symbol asterisk is used to indicate a pointer variable. Okay, so with this point we finish with initialization. Next we'll move on to the last point of today's video lecture, that is accessing a variable through its pointer. So now we have seen how to define a pointer, how to declare a pointer, how to initialize a pointer. Now we are going to access a variable by using a pointer variable. Unary operator asterisk, known as the indirection operator or dereferencing operator. We are going to use this operator, which is known as indirection operator or dereferencing operator, for accessing the value stored in a variable with the help of a pointer. We shall see an example. Here I have declared quantity variable of type integer. I have declared n as a variable of type integer, and I have declared a pointer variable p who is going to point to an integer data type. Next, in this statement I have initialized the value of quantity as 179. So variable quantity will now store the value 179. Next, p is equal to address of quantity. Whatever the address of the memory which is allocated to quantity, suppose for example we'll take that it is 5000 as in previous lectures. So p will store the value 5000. Okay, that is nothing but the memory address of quantity. Now here you can see how we are going to access a variable through its pointer. N is equal to value stored at address 5000. I repeat, n is equal to value stored at address 5000. P stores the value 5000. Okay, what is the value stored at address 5000? It is 179. So n will be initialized with 179. When the operator asterisk is placed before a pointer variable in an expression, the pointer returns the value of the variable of which the pointer value is the address. So asterisk p returns the value of the variable quantity because p is the address of quantity. The asterisk can be remembered as value at address. Okay, so we say ampersand as address of quantity while reading this statement, and in this I'll say n is equal to value stored at address p. Okay, so I hope you have understood how to access a variable through its pointers. Thank you.